friends, welcome back. In this video, I am going to go over the 2022 annual horoscope for Cancer moon sign individuals. We look at the moon sign because it becomes a little more specific to the individual. Sun sign predictions are very general in nature, so we don't really look at sun signs. We focus more on the moon sign or the ascendant sign. So if your moon sign is Cancer or if your ascendant sign is Cancer, then you should definitely watch this video to see what is in store for you next year. So when we do annual horoscopes, we focus on the transit or four major planets: Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, and Ketu. So let's get started. Rahu is currently in your 11th house in the sign of Taurus. However, it will move to your 10th house in the sign of Aries next April. Ketu is currently in your 5th house in the sign of Scorpio, and it will move to your 4th house in the sign of Libra next year. Saturn is currently in your 7th house in its own house in the sign of Capricorn, and it will move to the 8th house in April next year in the sign of Aquarius, which is its Mool Trikona sign. However, it will start moving backwards and will come back to Capricorn in July in the 7th house and will stay there for the rest of the year. Finally, Jupiter will transit to the 9th house in its own sign Pisces from April next year. So those were the major transits. Now let's look at the major areas of life. Talking about the career, I would recommend Cancer individuals to be a little careful next year with their job, because Rahu, especially when he moves to the 10th house from April, you have to be extra careful because Rahu usually tries to create problems in the house in which it sits because it is a demon planet. And Aries is not a friendly sign to Rahu either. So my recommendation is that if you have a good job, stay in that job, work hard, and you will be fine. If possible, do not try to change jobs next year. Just stay in the job that you have and everything will be okay for you. For the love life, it is a good year next year because the 5th house of love romance will be aspected by Jupiter from April next year, and Ketu will be going to the 4th house. So there will be no planet here, and the most auspicious planet will be looking at the 5th house, which is a blessing. So from April next year, you can definitely expect some positive things happening in the love area matter. For married life, it is going to be a very good year or more of a stable year because Saturn for the most time of the year is going to be in your 7th house in its own sign. So whenever a planet sits in its own sign, it does good. And Saturn is all about stability, not much change. So I would recommend you to be honest and always be trustworthy with your partner, and everything will be okay. For business, I expect that it will be a good year, but do not expect major cash coming your way or major profits because Saturn will be placed in its own house, in its own sign. And as I said before, Saturn is all about stability, being slow, very delay in growth. So everything will be steady. Do not take any major risk and your business will run great. For wealth, I can see that there will be a decline from April next year since Rahu, which is currently in your 11th house of gains, will move to the 10th house. And so Rahu usually in the 11th house does great. It gives a lot of gains. So from April next year, when it leaves that house, you can suddenly find a decline in the income or your sources of income that you have. So I would advise you to save money as much as possible and try to lead a simple life. In terms of health matters, it's going to be an okay year. Nothing too much major I see going on because the 6th and 12th house are not afflicted. And just from April, May, June, when Saturn goes to the 8th house, you should be a little careful. Again, nothing big I see because Saturn will still be in its own sign. So it will protect that house. So overall, it will be a good year in terms of health. For education, it will be an excellent year because Jupiter, the most auspicious planet, will be looking at the 5th house. And especially from April, in terms of education and children, it's going to be excellent. If you wanted to pursue that higher education in some foreign country or to a university that you always wanted to go, definitely start applying because from April onwards, there is a good chance that you might just get in. And same for children, your relationship with your children will start improving slowly as the year moves forward. And especially from April onwards, everything is looking bright in terms of education and children. So I hope you like this video on my generalized 2022 Cancer moon sign horoscope. And I will go over the 5th sign, which is Leo, in my next video. Stay tuned. Bye.